forgive my mistakes if I make any and correct me. Let us start with the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vikhashika Vishamsta He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So for today's topic, let us dive into the profound topic of how merciful Lord reciprocates the love of his devotees. In all our sacred scriptures, we find numerous instances where the Lord's boundless love and compassion are revealed through his interactions with his beloved devotees. So let us delve into this. First, before we embark into these sacred texts, let us understand what is the essence of devotion. Okay, what do we define as devotion? It is a love, it is that unalloyed, unadulterated love that we feel for the Lord, and it transcends the material realm. So this is a transcendental love. In the words of Lord Chaitanya, he said, the only desire that arises in the heart of a devotee is to have pure love for the Lord, birth after birth. And such a devotee is extremely dear to the Lord. And just as a mother would rush to embrace her crying child, Sri Krishna rushes to embrace the devotee who calls out to him with a sincere heart. Prabhupada said this many times in his lectures. So Krishna's love for his devotees surpasses any worldly comparisons. It is a love that responds instantly to our sincere yearning. Okay, so let us look at what is bhakti. What is bhakti? Bhakti is a language of love. So this beautiful verse from Bhagavad Gita, it summarizes the essence of bhakti. It says, always, so Sri Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls, that means my bhaktas, they are perpetually worshipping me with devotion. So here essentially Krishna is explaining what are the kinds of bhaktas that are dear to him. And this bhakti comes in 4 flavors, okay? Some devotees, they see Krishna as their master. So they love Krishna in a dasya ras. Some devotees see Krishna as friend. So they love Krishna in sakhya ras. Some devotees, they see Krishna, especially women, right? When we see a small child, our heart is filled with love. So some devotees, for them, Krishna is just like a baby Krishna, and so their heart is filled with Vatsalya ras. And for some devotees, they see Krishna as their beloved. So it is Madhurya ras. But no matter which path or in which form you love Krishna, in the end, you will attain Krishna. You will go to his abode. Why? Because just as rivers, whether the river flows from Himalayas or whether the river flows from plains, every river will finally meet the ocean. In the same way, whichever different four paths of bhakti that you follow, in the end, eventually, you will meet Krishna. So, why is Bhakti Yoga a path for all? Because Krishna himself, he has declared. So, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, Krishna explains different kinds of devotees. But he says, of all these devotees, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best devotee. The devotee who is in bhakti path. All these devotees, they are undoubtedly magnanimous souls. But the one devotee who is situated in a knowledge of me, I consider him to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he's sure to attain me and the highest and most perfect goal. So in this way, we see that Krishna values the devotee who follows the path of bhakti. He even says that such a devotee or such a bhakta is of highest or and most dearest to me. Okay, so Krishna's mercy in this way, it's boundless and independent of devotees' past or present actions. He responds totally to the purity and sincerity of their love. So, in this way, who is the supreme reciprocator? It is our Lord Krishna. So, the scriptures teach us that Lord Krishna is not just a passive observer, but our devotion to the supreme reciprocator who reciprocates with his devotees according to the depth of their love. So, I am a Maharashtrian, so we say, Jaya Mani Jasa Bhava Tyala Tasa Anubhava. Means the way you display your bhav, that is what you are going to reciprocate. You will see you will receive the reciprocation in that same way. So if we offer our prayers with sincerity, you are going to get his boundless love, his grace, and his mercy. So Lord Krishna also has declared in Bhagavad Gita, he told Arjuna that declare that my devotee will never perish, right? I'll always come and I will save my devotee. So throughout our scriptures, we have seen that Lord Krishna has reciprocated the call of his devotees in one way or the other. He's personally come and served his devotees. And so I am going to now present a few stories from the different scriptures where we will once again see how Krishna reciprocates to his devotees and his love for his devotees. I have tried to pick a few stories. Some of you may be familiar with these stories, and for some of you, they will be lesser known stories. So let us start with the narratives of Srimad Bhagavatam. Everybody is familiar with the story of Ajamila, right? Right? So Ajamila was a very pious Brahmin, born and brought up in a Brahmin family, very pious, very devoted to the Lord. But because of one event where he saw some prostitute engaging with some other man, he felt the lusty desires and he fell down. So what happened after that? He led a life of debauchery. With that prostitute, he had 10 sons. However, the last son that he bore, by some unconceived mercy of the Lord, he named this last son Narayan. And he was very attached to Narayan throughout his life. Now, because he was living this kind of life, which was life of debauchery, when he was about to leave his life, he saw suddenly Yamadutas come. So he was able to see Yamadutas, and minute he saw Yamadutas, he was extremely scared. He was extremely scared, and he let out cry saying, Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. Now, when he said Narayan, he actually wasn't referring to the Lord. He was referring to his own son. He was calling out, because when you are dying, whatever you have remembered in your life, whatever you have done in your life, only that you're going to remember, right? So for him, he was in love with his son Narayan, and he just happened to call out his name. But that cry was so intent that immediately Vishnu Dutas came, and they told the Yamadutas, you please leave because he is ours. We are going to take him. And then, because of when Vishnu Dutas arrived, they didn't actually, he didn't die. They didn't actually take him with him. They left him, and he suddenly had a change of heart. He went to Haridwar, he stayed in a Vishnu temple, and there he completely focused his mind on Vishnu, on Krishna, and led a life of a pious Brahmin. And then eventually, when he left his body, he went home back to Godhead. That was the first story. The second story from Srimad Bhagavatam, who doesn't know? Everybody knows, right? Everybody knows the story of Bhakta Prahlad. Bhakta Prahlad was born in the family of demons. But we say he's Bhakta. Why? Because since the day he was born, even before he was conceived, because of mother Kayadu, right? She was always she was a very pious lady, in spite of her husband being Hiranyakashipu, and she would always receive Narada Muni very, very nicely, and Narada Muni would always preach her. So even when Bhakta Prahlad was in the womb of his mother, he had been listening to the glories of Narayan, and he naturally got attached to Narayan. And so, even as a 5-year-old child, he was preaching the glories of Narayan to everybody. Now, if you are a demon and if you hate gods, will you be happy when your only son keeps singing glories of Narayan? No. So, what happened? Abominable activities were done, right? He was thrown away from the cliffs. He was put in the pit of snakes. He was thrown in boiling oil. But what happened? Nothing could happen to him. Nothing. Why? Every single time he called out the name of Narayan, Narayan came and saved him. Lord Vishnu came and saved him. So he was so absorbed. He didn't even care that his father was doing all these things to him. He went ahead and he preached his father, Father, please don't do this. Take names of Lord Narayan. Take the names of Lord Vishnu. Take the names of Lord Krishna. And his father was so angry. He said, what are you saying? What are you saying? Is Lord everywhere? Where is Lord? And he said, yeah, he's in every atom. He's in every piece of air there is. So when Hiranyakashipu asked him very, very arrogantly, is he there in this pillar? And Bhakta Prahlad said, of course, he is in the pillar. And when he said this, Hiranyakashipu just lost his cool. He kicked the pillar, and what happened? Lord Narsingadev appeared. So Krishna, in order to save his devotee, he broke all the rules, because Hiranyakashipu had been granted a lot of boons, and the boons were like that he would be completely immune to being killed with any kind of weapon. He would be immune to killing with any kind of anywhere, not on the ground, not in the sky, not with weapons, not during the day, not during the night. But Krishna, the master trickster, he found a way. He found a way to overcome all these possibilities that were put in that boon. and he appeared and he saved his great devotee, right? So this is the second example. Now, the third example that I want to quote is also from Srimad Bhagavatam, but this is a lesser known example. King Kulashekara. Do anybody know who is King Kulashekara? Exactly. So he is in South India. There are, if you go to South, if you visit South Indian temples, you'll always see there are deities, and then there are just outside the main temple, there will be like 12 other deities. These are called alvars, or these are the saints. And according to the Sri Vaishnavas, Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, these saints were not ordinary living entities. They were the incarnations of the divine paraphernalia of the Lord Himself. So King Kulashekara, he was also one of the alvars, and it is said that he was the incarnation of Kaustubhamani of the Lord. So he was born to very, very pious parents. Actually, they didn't have a child, so they were praying very, very intently to the Lord to have a baby. And he was conceived. And his father and his mother, the king and the queen of the South Indian state, they were extremely happy. They raised him very, very well. Now, when King Kulashekara grew up, he obviously ascended the throne, and he was extremely just king. His whole kingdom loved him. But the problem with him was he was not at that time devoted to the Lord. He was not yet a devotee. And then, by some miracle, he got the taste of devotion. And once he got the taste of devotion, he got completely immersed in this devotional bhakti, so much so that he didn't even want to rule. He wanted to just walk away. So then what happened? His ministers devised a plan. They said, instead of this good king running away, let's every day give him we'll recite to him a few stories, and we'll keep the atmosphere very, very pious. So every day, few priests would come and recite Ramayana to him. And he was extremely happy listening to this Ramayana, but sometimes he would get so lost in that story that he would actually feel that Ramayana is happening right then and there around him. And this, he was not acting, of course, right? This was his complete surrender and complete immersion in the scripture. So one day when the priest was sick, he sent his son. And the son didn't know that this king slips into ecstasy. So the son recited or narrated the portion where Sita Maya is taken by Ravana. And the king got so angry, he immediately said, "Stop. How dare this demon king Ravana take my Sita Maya? Make the army ready. I am going to march." And he took this. I mean, this was just, you can't even imagine. This king, this is thousands of years after Ramayana, but this king, he got his whole army ready and he marched to Rameshwaram. He actually entered the water because he didn't even think about the bridge and all. He was entering the water. He was in the water with his army. And then the priests were praying like anything. Oh my God, the whole army and the king, everything is going to go in drown. And what is going to happen now? So the priests were fervently praying. And you know who came? Lord Ram appeared. Lord Ram and Sita Maya, both of them appeared. They pacified him and they said, the Ravana king has been defeated. He has been killed. And we are good. We are fine. We are going back to Ayodhya. Let us come with you. We'll drop you to your kingdom and then we'll go ahead. And this king thought, he actually thought that it is all really happening right now. So he was so grateful to see the Lord. He fell at the Lord's feet and he said, yes, yes, yes. And so Ram and Sita, they actually brought him to his kingdom. They made him, they pacified him. They made him sit on the throne again and rule the kingdom. and then Ram and Sita disappeared. So this is how even Ram, the Lord and his consort come to help out his real and pure devotee. So these are the stories from Srimad Bhagavatam. Let us see also another story from the Mahabharata. So who you all are familiar with this, right? Who can tell me what's happening in the first picture? Yes. So what happened is Lord Krishna once he hurt his finger and his finger started bleeding. Now in a room full of people, there were so many people there. Nobody even thought of going and stopping the bleeding. But without a single thought, Draupadi, who was present at that event, she tore a piece of her sari and she covered the wound of Lord Krishna. And she said, I'm glad that now it is stopped. Your bleeding is stopped. So Krishna, he was so touched by this devotion of Draupadi. It is, I have read somewhere that he counted the number of yarns in that piece of cloth. And they were like, I don't know, 999 or something like that. So Krishna promised her, you have given me these threads of cloth. I will provide you these many yards of cloth. And then when in the courtroom, in the filled courtroom of Dhritarashtra, when Pandavas lost in the Dyuta Krida, and they had to even lose themselves and they had to lose their wife, and her honor was at stake. Nobody could help her, right? She ran to everybody. She ran to Dhritarashtra, she ran to the acharyas, she ran to even Bhishma, and she said, please help me. How can you see a lady's honor being ruined like this? Nobody ran to her. Nobody ran to her to help her. So in the end, she tried to defend her honor by herself, but she knew that she was no match for Dushasan and Duryodhan. So ultimately, what did she do? I surrender. I surrender because I can't help myself. So I know it's only you who will help me. And immediately, what happened? An endless supply of sari. So much so that Dushasan was tired. So thousands and thousands of yards of sari, he's pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, and now these are warriors. They're not like us. They're not going to gym for 2 hours and showing off their, bulging biceps. They are not like that. These are warriors. They are fighting from morning till evening, so they have a lot of stamina. And even such a warrior could not finish pulling Draupadi's sari, and he was tired. That much sari Lord Krishna could supply, right? So this is another example of how Lord comes to rescue the honor of his beloved devotee. So this was an example from Mahabharata. We will see another example from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just last week there was Gaur Purnima. And we have seen the most munificent and the most merciful incarnation of Krishna in modern times is Lord Chaitanya. So who knows about this story, Haridas Thakur story? Everybody knows, right? What happened? Haridas Thakur was Muslim by birth, right? But he took up chanting Hare Krishna. And he was chanting 300,000 names every day before he could eat his only meal of the day, or before he could do any other activities for the day. 300,000 names every day. And that time, the local king, his name was Chand Kazi, right? He was so angry. He said to Haridas Thakur, you will have to die or you stop chanting. Like two options. I give you only two options. Stop chanting or die. And if it was me, or if it was a few people I know, what would we say? It's okay. I'll stop chanting. because we don't have that faith. But Haridas Thakur had complete faith in his Lord, and he said, "You can kill me if you want, but I'm not going to stop chanting." So he was given reward of being whipped in 22 marketplaces throughout the kingdom. He was, and you see, look at him, he's so frail, and he was whipped in 22 marketplaces. But what happened? The people who were whipping him, they were tired, but nothing happened to him. He was saved. He was saved because he was a very, very pure devotee of the Lord, right? So Lord Chaitanya glorified Haridas Thakur, and he said that Haridas Thakur is my favorite and my most dear devotee. Okay, so I'm from Maharashtra, and how can I not talk about the saints of Varkari Sampradaya? Do you know the Varkari Sampradaya? Varkari Sampradaya. Yes, please go ahead, Prabhu.
Varkari Sampradaya actually Maharaj. Santukaram was a very devotee of Lord Krishna, and he also got initiated from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and which came recently from Mumbai and Maharashtra. So, Maharashtra is very great story of devotion actually. It's fully like surrender to Lord and chanting almost like without eating 10-20 days or more than that even, without eating or drinking.
Yes.
And wherever he goes, the mud or the soil or the stones also singing the glory of the Lord.
Yes.
So such a powerful devotee he was.
So Varkari Sampradaya, it is a Vaishnav sect from Maharashtra, and they are called Varkaris because they do Vari, and Vari means a pilgrimage. So every year there are two Ekadashis, the main Ekadashis, Ashadi and Kartiki. And during both these Ekadashis, these Varkaris, from wherever they live in Maharashtra, they walk all the way to Pandharpur. In Maharashtra, Krishna has appeared in the form of Lord Vitthal of Pandharpur. So it's called Vithu Mauli, means Vitthal means Vitthal. His name is Vitthal, and Mauli means mother. So all the Varkaris call him our sweet mother Vitthal. So they walk 10 days, 12 days, 15 days barefoot to go to Pandharpur and come back. Okay, and they also sing and chant the glories of Vitthal Dev. So from Varkari Sampradaya, as Prabhu mentioned, one of the main origins actually of this Sampradaya was Jnaneshwar Maharaj and Sant Tukaram, Sant Jnandev, Sant Chokha Mira. So you don't have to be Brahmana to be a good devotee. You can be Shudra, you can be from an outcast, you can be Lula, Langda, anything. Okay? There are no rules and regulations that only good people, only when somebody who is a doctor or engineer, they can be devotees. Actually, I don't think they'll make that good devotees. Devotees who are the people who are very, very pure from heart, who can give their heart and soul to the Lord, such devotees are more dear to Krishna. So I have two stories from the Varkari Sampradaya, and you may or may not have heard. The first one is Santa Sakhu. Have you heard? Does anybody know about Santa Sakhu? So Santa Sakhu, she was born to very pious parents in a village which was close to Pandharpur. And her parents also didn't have a child, and they were praying very, very fervently to Vitthal Dev that please we must have a child. And they had Santa Sakhu. And she was the most beautiful, beautiful girl that was born at that time. Her beauty, she was very beautiful, very, very nice, and a sober girl, always chanting the glories of the names of Lord Vithal. So much so that one time it is said that Vithal took Roop, or he came disguised as an old man just to see Santa Sakhu, and he gave her his tambura. There used to be an instrument that you can play. So he gave her that. He taught her how to play that, and he said, "Come visit me in Pandharpur." And Santa Sakho, from that point of time, she had this intense desire to go to Pandharpur. But at that time, there were no trains and all these, right? This is like 500 years back. People had to go everywhere on foot. And a young and beautiful girl, which parents will send her? Nobody, right? So the parents eventually married her off when she was of a marriageable age. Unfortunately, her in laws were not at all good, not pious. So they would beat her, they would abuse her, they would ask her. At that time, the biggest way of torturing somebody was to giving them a bag of grain and asking them to grind it using a stone grinder. So the whole day they would make her sit in a room and keep grinding. And but in her mind, she would always be in Pandharpur. And so one time when she was going to fetch water, some devotees were passing. I think Warkaris were going to Pandharpur for their Wari. And Sakhu happened to see their singing, and she was so intensely desiring that she should go with them. So she ran to the devotees and she said, "Where are you going?" And they said, "We're going to Pandharpur." And she said, "Can I come with you?" And at that time, the society in general was pious. So they said, "No, first you have to ask your husband and your in laws, and then you can come with us." So she rushes to ask her husband, and her husband doesn't want her to go anywhere because who will do the work? So the husband ties her to a pole and locks her in the room. Okay. So now, what do you think would have happened? She was so sad that she didn't get to go, and she was not even allowed to go outside. She was locked up. So she started singing the praises of Lord Vitthal. Can anybody guess what happened? Yes, Mataji. So what happened is, look what Krishna does for his devotees. Krishna came there as Santa Sakhu. So Krishna took her role. He came. So Sakhu, she's tied to a pole. She's almost like passing out. And she sees herself coming towards her, very, very fresh, and opening her binds, And she said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am you. You wanted to go to Pandharpur? Here I am. I will do all your work. You can go." And so Sakhu happily just left with the devotees and she went to Pandharpur. And now this Santa Sakhu, who was Krishna in disguise, she was doing all the menial work of the in-laws, of the husband, so much so that the husband and her in-laws had a change of heart. And they started loving Santa Sakhu so much. And the actual Santa Sakhu is in Pandharpur singing the glories. And then she was so tired of her life and she just wanted to go and become one with her Lord. She prayed fervently to the Lord, "Please, I want to be with you." And Vitthal accepted her. So she merged into Vitthal. And the devotees who saw this, somebody, at that time there was no news, paparazzi and all that were not there. But some devotees saw what is happening. They came running back. They said, "So and so person, that her husband, your wife is dead." Like, cannot be. She's there inside. She's doing the dishes or whatever she was doing. She's there inside. And then when he goes and checks, that Santa Sakhu, which is Krishna, is gone. So then he realizes what kind of impious things he has done to her, and he begs for forgiveness. So that is the glory of a real devotee. And this is even more less known story. It is also from the Varkari Sampradaya, Santa Kanopatra. Has anybody heard about her? No? So at that time, there used to be Devdasis, and Devdasis used to be treated not very nicely. They are actually supposed to be dasis of the Lord, but they were in society, they were not treated nicely. So one such Devdasi had a young daughter. Her name was Kanhopatra. Now Kanhopatra was she was famous for being an unparalleled beauty of in her times. She was so beautiful that even princesses would not be anything like her. She was that beautiful. And she was also an extremely good musician. In singing and dancing, she was extremely good. So now, if you are a beautiful person and you become of a marriageable age, obviously you would want to marry somebody who is at least as beautiful as you, right? You are not going to want to marry somebody who's ugly. So her mother used to say, go to the king, dance in front of the king, you will get some money, and she would refuse. She would never go. One time she again saw this Varkaris going, singing and chanting and dancing and going to Pandharpur. And she rushed to them and she said, where are you guys going? And they said, we're going to Pandharpur. Like, why you are going to Pandharpur? Oh, because the most beautiful Lord stays there. So now, up until now, she's only considering bodily beauty, right? So she asks them, is he really beautiful? And they say, he is 1,000 times or million times more beautiful than anything beautiful you will see in this world. So now she is driven by this desire that I want to marry this person because he is so beautiful, right? He's only the match for my beauty. So she leaves everything. She tells her mother, I'm going with the devotees. And she goes with the devotees to Pandharpur. There she sees Lord Vitthal, and her external preferences actually drop down. She, from the materialistic platform, she comes to the platform of the soul. And she is totally immersed in the devotion of Lord Vitthal. She's singing in front of him, she's dancing in front of him the whole time. And these stories reach the local king. And the king has this mentality that if something is beautiful, it belongs to me. So the king sent his soldiers to bring her back to the court so that he can have her. And when the soldiers come in and tell her that she has to go back, she tells the Lord, how can you just let me leave with these soldiers? Please help me. And the Lord just absorbs Kanopatra and her body falls down. So she just enters the Lord's deity. And what are the soldiers going to do with the dead body? Nothing, right? So this news reaches the king, and the king then understands that she was such a great devotee that the Lord actually came to save her from me. And the king also has a change of heart. So all these stories that we have seen, which are from thousands of years old, from Srimad Bhagavatam, then we've seen from Mahabharata, now we've seen some from the recent times, 500-600 years old. Now you would be questioning real life examples, hai kya? You only have stories about Lord helping the kings and other devotees only in the olden times. What about now? And we have this wonderful example of these two young boys, Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajangri Prabhu, who were appointed by Srila Prabhupada to worship Ugra Narsinghadev in Mayapur, right? And in Mayapur, when we had gone, I think we had attended a seminar, and usually devotees will not tell you their most personal stories or personal relationship with the Lord, how the Lord reciprocates. They'll not tell you. But somehow we were able to attend one session where both these brothers shared some wonderful, wonderful stories of the reciprocation of the Lord with them. You know, once I'll just say one story. One day, both the brothers were sleeping, and so there's a main room, and there's the small pujari room. I think there this both Pankaj Prabhu and Jananivas Prabhu were sleeping, and Pankaj Prabhu, I think he turned. You know, you twist and turn when you sleep. He turned and he saw Narsingadev sleeping next to him, and he was, you know, he was shivering, and he was like, "My Lord, what happened? Why are you here?" And Narsingadev told him, "You didn't turn on the fan. It's so hot in there. How do you expect me to sleep there?" You know, and then both the brothers just woke up, and they, you know, said, "We are really sorry, we are really sorry," and they went and they turned on the fan. And many such small stories they told, where, I mean, these are just inconceivable, right? You would never think that these stories would happen, but if you have this kind of relationship with the Lord, then Lord will reciprocate. These are very, very personal reciprocations, right? So what are the practical tips? How can we love God so much so that the God also loves us in return? By cultivating surrender. We have to surrender our ego, it's easier said than done, and desires at the feet of the Lord. And you have to trust Him in His divine plan and timing. We have to nurture our bhakti, our daily practices of chanting, reading scriptures, serving devotees, and also cultivating devotion in such a way. And very, very important, practicing gratitude. We have to always be thankful that we are getting this opportunity to be a devotee. Okay? And then you have to serve humanity selflessly, because there is Lord in each and every one of us. And seeking association. So in management, there's a rule. It says you are an average of 5 people you are friends with. So you have to always remember that. Your attitude, your aptitude, and your behavior will reflect 5 people you associate with. So if we associate with the devotees, we are going to be like a devotee, right? Okay. So my final slide, if you don't remember anything from today's talk, let's say you don't remember any story, you don't remember anything, there's only one thing I want you to remember, and that's the takeaway from today's talk. So let me speak in terms of finance, because generally if something is concerned with money, then people will remember, right? Or people are more interested to hear. So when we say we earn and we invest, what are our assets? You know, we are very much interested in having, we are very much interested in having good house, good car. If we, sometimes people have one houses, they want 2 houses, they want other financial investments. Then generally what happens is a mother invests a lot of her time in her children. A wife will invest a lot of her time in taking care of her husband, right? Relationship investment also. And why is that? Because there is an ulterior motive. Mother will invest time in the children. Why? When I get old, they will take care of me. Wife invests time in husband. Why? When if something happens to me, my husband will take care of me. And so on and so forth. Even brothers, sisters, any friends, any relationship. You know, there's always this motive. We'll be taken care of in some way. But is this guaranteed? If I come to you and if I say, okay, you have $200,000, give it to me. I will keep it safely. I will give you a 10% return back on your investment. It's a very good return. Nobody gives you 10%. I'll give it to you. The only fine print is that I don't guarantee I'll give it back to you. Will you make that investment? Why not? I'm giving you 10% return. No guarantee, right? So now let us talk about the real RRR. Krishna's RRR. And what is Krishna's RRR? If we invest in Krishna, it is a real investment. It is a reciprocal investment. And he guarantees it. He guarantees it. He said it in Gita. So if not in this lifetime, in the next lifetime, you will not start from zero. You will start from where you left. So where should we be putting our energies? Where there is no guarantee or where there is guarantee? So this is the only takeaway that I have from, that I ask you to take from today's talk, that we have to invest our time. If we cannot invest 24 hours because we still live in this world, but whatever time we invest in the Lord with lot of devotion and lot of love. And Lord will always reciprocate in ways that we cannot even imagine. Okay. So thank you so much for allowing me to talk. And I don't have the qualification to answer your questions, but if you have a comments or if somebody else can answer the questions, you can ask me questions. Yes, go ahead.
Wonderful lecture. That was amazing. All the pastimes of the different. I had a question about the Gurgaris. Both personalities you mentioned merged into Vittal.
Yeah, I mean, when they say like this, they merge into Vittal, that means they left their body right in front of Vittal Dev, and it is said that Vittal took them home back to Godhead. So there's the Prabhuji, the other Prabhuji was mentioning about Sant Tukaram, right? So it has been mentioned that Sant Tukaram is the only Mahajan, I think, who left this world, who went to Goloka Vaikunta with this body, with this body. So Vishnudutas came and took him on the plane and he went back.
But Vaikunta is the location.
Yes, yes, yes.
I have a comment.
Sure.
You said that mother's love for children is very strong. But several cases, for example, in India, but it's probably not true. Children here, several cases, mothers having ultimate contact on their children.
Yeah. Prabhuji, there are.
Father's love is also deep. Father does not have the same biological needs as a mother.
Yeah.
But this culture, I mean, I'm sure it happens in India too, but between Western and Indian culture, do you think it's cultural or religious? Why it doesn't happen?
In?
If the answer to why it doesn't happen so much in India, as much as it happens in the Western hemisphere, is it cultural or is it religious?
So I feel it is more cultural. There might be a religious aspect to it also, but I feel the way we have been born and brought up in that culture, uh, we have the way we are raised. The Indian parents raise their kids in India. Although nowadays it's not, I'm seeing different things, but still you will find in general, there is more spirituality in India, right? Because it may be the potency of the land, it may be the potency of the culture that has been there for thousands and thousands of years. And also, lords, right? There are so many, like, Lord resides in India, right? In so many places you have Jagrut Lord, right? So I think everything contributes. But I'm open to any other comments about that too.
Basically, we see that if you see this pastime of Mother Sita, pastime of Mother Sita, so though the Mother Sita is the goddess, right? What we see in Ramayana, her mother, when she was going through the Ayodhya, she was teaching her how to behave as a wife. She explained, so means that mother teaches every daughter
Yes, yes,
how to behave with husband, how to behave with your father, how to behave with your uncle. So from childhood, mother passes those knowledge to the daughter or son, and by those knowledge, they cultivate intention of respect. And the respect is there. That's why you do not do all those kind of problems. In Western countries, those things are really missing out. But nowadays, with the mission of the Prabhupada and other devotees are preaching about that, those are increasing. So we are going good toward.
yes, Prabhu. I agree. I agree. Yes.
Very, very nice class. And I loved what you said in the beginning. Bhakti is the language of love, and I will never forget Santa's story. Thank you so much.
Wonderful class. Thank you. So let us say a big Haribol! Haribol! Incredibly wonderful class and some real gems that many of us have never heard, and just wonderful stories. I really appreciate it, and it's a real